They're pure evil and can be terrifying, but just as often, they're just funny. To address them being perfect on the tabletop, you have so many options available to you that in some ways it honestly rivals even the Space Marines over.
I'm not gonna lie, he's actually making me inspired to make a Let's Play video where I am the Skaven.
Oh my god! Okay, it's happening! Everybody stay calm! What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm!
Hey guys, welcome back. So I am not the biggest fan of the Skaven, if you can believe it, but let's see if Pancreasnowork can change my mind. This is the Skaven are Warhammer's best faction, so let's see if he will turn me into a believer. Like that smash button and let's get into it.
Warhammer. It's got a lot of factions. 3 entire game systems worth of factions. Some of them are absolutely iconic. If you take a Space Marine and show it to someone who doesn't know anything about Warhammer, there's decent odds they'll be able to recognize it as that 40k thing. Some, of course,
yes, the ultimate chads.
are flops. You work on a franchise for 40 plus years, you're bound to end up with something atrocious.
Wait, is this Bretonia? He's saying they're flops? What's wrong with them? Flying horses? And you're telling me this is a flop? Like, no.
It's like Bretonia eventually. Not everything's a hit after all. Sometimes you end up with a mistake. Most factions are unique and have their own draws that weigh out any potential cons, though. Even the Leagues of Wotan have plenty to bring someone towards collecting them, even with their model count currently being pretty minimal and their lore being entirely propped up by the old squats and Deep Rock Galactic existing. But out of all the armies you can collect in Warhammer, none of them reach the peak that the Skaven have managed to climb.
Wait, are they the most popular faction? Wait, what? These horned rats? Oh, is this like a horned rat shaman right here? He looks pretty badass, not gonna lie.
In my eyes, the ultimate Warhammer faction. In lore and tabletop, everything. As far as designing an army goes, they're peak Warhammer. Sure, they've got downsides, but from the standpoint of not only players of Warhammer and fans of its lore, but also from GW's point of view, they have pretty much everything you could possibly want out of a faction. And you know, looking back on my Skaven do or don't, that video was only 12 minutes long. For a faction that I love as much as the Skaven, I feel like I didn't nearly do them enough justice. So if you don't believe me, please, let me try to convince you all on the subject of Skaven supremacy.
I don't know. Let's see if he can convince me. I have been a big Skaven hater during this whole Warhammer journey. I like see him in the Reggie videos and I'm like, I'm good. Like, that's not for me, dog. I don't know. They seem kind of gross. They're like eating each other. They're like friendly firing each other. They're killing each other. But you know what? I guess I respect how much they just straight up don't give a fuck and will just do like anything to win. I guess that's what they want at the end.
And on the topic of things that are great, posters are pretty cool, don't you think? A nice decoration to hang on your wall, something to start a conversation, or if we're being honest, turn your hobby room into the nerdiest thing on the planet. No shame in all, I am no different. And if you want the best posters in the business, you can do no better than Displate, the sponsor of this video. Displate gives you the best posters you could possibly want.
Cool.
Because they're metal, they're not gonna rip if you so much as glance at them with an unhappy look on your face. But even better, you don't gotta drill a hole in the wall or put a pin in to keep them held up. You just wipe your wall down, put down the protective sheet, put the magnet on, and then slap your poster wherever you want. Could not be easier. Every design is not only high quality, but signed by their master of production. That sounds like some Space Marine armor ritual, and you have that sort of quality for one of a million different designs of your choosing, including Warhammer. It has worldwide shipping and 4 to 5 business days, so if you're as impatient as me, then you won't be kept waiting long. And as the cherry on top, they're carbon neutral. You're not only getting cool posters, you can rest easy knowing you did your part in keeping the earth healthy. I was sent 5 of their lovely posters, so why don't I show you what you could be getting for yourself? We've got a nice Doom Eternal poster, because Doom is cool, and that's as far as my thought process went. A nice Halo Armory poster, because Halo is my jam. A beautiful Eldar poster, because I saw they had an Iandon poster available, and I think my brain just autopiloted into the order. A Ronnie poster, because I would commit heinous crimes if Ronnie asked me to, and I'm not going to pass on the chance for a poster of her. And of course,
I have done that, in fact.
A Dark Souls 2 poster, because I physically cannot go more than a day straight without reminding people which Dark Souls is the best Dark Souls. If you too would like to get yourself some fantastic display posters, use my link in the description to head on over. The discount will be automatically applied in the description, or you can use code Pancreas to get 22% off 1 to 2 displays or 33% off 3 or more displays. Turn your hobby room into a hobby dungeon and get yourself some displays today. Now then, let me tell you why the rats are just the best. Let's start off slow. They're one of the few things that are almost wholly original to GW. I'll be honest, as much as Warhammer Fantasy is my favorite Warhammer setting, there's like 3 original bones in its body. What isn't taken from Tolkien or Michael Moorcock is just taken from real-life history. A land of fractured nation-states who elect an...
I don't know, I feel like if it's taken from real-life history, you could still kind of like consider it original, because didn't like Tolkien get a lot of inspiration from World War I as well?
Emperor and constantly squabble amongst each other? Man, I wonder where that comes from. Or how about a dying race who's highly proficient in magic and tends towards extreme arrogance? Congratulations, you have the High Elves, and every elf ever.
Yes.
I don't think there's anything truly wrong with that, but still, Warhammer Fantasy isn't the most original thing out there. But the Skaven, oh, the Skaven, their inspirations are just that. Inspirations. They didn't copy and paste something before filing the serial numbers off. As far as I understand it, there's 2 main inspirations. The general idea of rats being bastards, and roughly World War I era tech. The first thing you can't possibly call a rip
Those are definitely some cool inspirations.
off, because rats being evil isn't exactly a new idea, and it's not unique to one corporation or the other. I doubt the first medieval peasant dying of the Black Plague is gonna call GW out on copying his suffering for their wargame or some shit. As for World War I, they're a race of mad scientists evil rats who use poison gas, machine guns, and wave tactics to overwhelm their enemies no matter the cost. Well, yeah, most of those things were in World War I. I don't remember the rats at Verdun being quite as vicious as the Skaven. They take the idea of World War I warfare and turned it into a unique and distinct faction, not just grabbing France or Germany from that time period and making them all mice. They're a race that makes GW's work truly stand out, because there's not really anything you can point at and go, yeah, they're basically just this, but with vermin. Also, unrelated fun fact, did you know that rats are actually quite the social butterflies? There's actually some pretty significant amount of findings that show rats are supportive and reasonably kind animals, only really turning into something resembling the Skaven under the most extremely cramped and horrid conditions. Why don't you think on that the next time you say the phrase rat bastard? But while it's
Yeah, that is a good point. I can't really think of another thing that is like the Skaven if I'm thinking about like fantasy or like sci-fi. Like they are very unique.
quite rude to normal rats, the phrase is perfectly suited to these ones. They are pure evil to the core on a species-wide level. The kindest a Skaven is ever going to get is when they consider certain other Skaven as tools worth preserving.
Yeah, like that's what I was saying before. I respect that the fact that they straight up do not give a flying about anything
Rather than just throwing them into the firing line for fun. They are so tremendously awful that even the worst demon or follower of chaos across any Warhammer setting is going to look like a shoplifter at worst by comparison. And you know what? That's amazing. Quite frankly, the only true downside I think they
You've
have is
lost
them being
karma.
pure evil, which means if you want even the most tenuous argument for your faction being in some way good, then you're totally out of luck here. But there's so many
Yeah.
upsides that come with it that I just don't think it matters. For one, this is a war game setting. Warhammer thrives on conflict. Sure, a lot of factions within it want peace eventually, but then we run into the issue of not having a war game anymore because no one's fighting.
Yes.
Other than Blood Bowl, I guess, but it's just not the same. The
Yeah, I mean, my 2 favorite factions are the Vampire Counts and the Dark Elves, so I don't really have a leg to stand on for this argument.
Skaven, meanwhile, can single-handedly ensure there will always be war in Warhammer. Besides, villains with complex motivations and moral shades of gray are all well and good, but pure evil ones are some of the most iconic for a reason. Emperor Palpatine would be
Yeah.
a lot less fun to watch if he just sat Luke down and calmly explained how the Jedi and Republic were corrupt and had to go, instead of electrocuting him. It's also sometimes just fun to be the bad
True.
guy. It's why games like Overlord exist. It's fun to be a piece of shit every now and again, and you cannot get lower on the morality totem pole than the Skaven. They're selfish, they're cruel, they want to enslave or kill every other being in existence, including other Skaven, and
Yes.
it's amazing. And yet, even with all that being said and done, you can still root for Skaven characters because they're just so fun to watch do their thing. Even amongst Warhammer fans who don't really know much about fantasy, I have not met a single person who genuinely dislikes Thanquol or the idea of his character. He's the most Skaven
Ooh, who's
Skaven to
that?
ever Skaven. He will routinely torture underlings for no reason other than
Yikes.
he can. He's so
Yikes.
self-centered, he makes other Skaven look like paragons of humility, and overall, he's just the worst. But every time he makes an appearance in a book I'm reading, I get the goofiest grin on my face, and I can't help rooting for the guy. He's just so silly and fun to watch do his thing. His evil is so over the top that he utters the phrase, "There's more than one way to skin an infant." I mean, what the hell am I supposed to do with that kind of character other than
He's just a silly little guy. What can I say?
just laugh and hope he sticks around, if only to see how awful he can get. His incompetence mixed with how abhorrent of a being he is, mixed with his actual skills, are great, and I can't get enough of it. To say nothing of Ickettclaw, aka the rat who broke the moon, or
I
any
think I remember this one from Reggie videos.
The other Skaven characters. They're so bombastic and ridiculous that it loops around from being reprehensible to just being funny, and you root for them because you want to see what BS they get up to next. Speaking of their evil, though, they're perfect because it can be played either completely straight or for laughs. Let's look at it played straight first. You're an Imperial citizen in some backwater town or other. Not too big, you're not in Nuln or Altdorf for something like that, but also not too small. You got yourself a reasonable garrison to keep any stray beastmen or goblins out, and the walls are of decent quality. Maybe thousands of years ago some elves or dwarfs made them, and your town keeps them in good enough condition to use. Things are good. Then one day, things start getting bad. Not all at once, and early on it may not even be anything particularly exceptional. The Skaven can be subtle, after all. Maybe you have a bit of a crop shortage one harvest season. That sucks, and you and some others are definitely going to be hungry for a bit, but that happens all the time. There's no reason to suspect foul play, especially foul play by devious ratmen. Then some cattle get
like, that's the other thing about them, is that they are sneaky, because they have their freaking undercities, which are cities that they build under, like, an existing city, and sometimes you don't know you're, like, in a Skaven capital until it's too late.
slaughtered. But again, no biggie. A beastman probably got hungry before he could be driven off. Some people start going missing, which is certainly more worrying, but again, it happens all the time. In the world of Warhammer Fantasy or Age of Sigmar, there's a million different reasons someone can get lost. Then things start getting bad in a way that you can't rationalize away, that can't be written off as unrelated occurrences. Out of the corner of your eye, you see hunched figures darting in and out of the shadows. You never quite catch a glimpse, but you can swear they're watching the moment you turn away. Shards of warpstone.
My god, if I just saw like a bunch of like beady little glowing eyes in the dark, that would be like so fucking horrifying.
Begin appearing, tainting the land, water, and more, and turning your fellow townsfolk into vile mutants. More people begin disappearing, now many of them influential figures in the town. Reports of caravans being attacked by rat-like beastmen constantly come in, until one day no one ever makes the trip to your town again. And one day, if you listen closely, you can swear you hear the tolling of a bell 13 times, and then it comes to a head. As if out of nowhere, thousands upon thousands of Skaven surge into the town. Maybe they burst out of the ground through a massive network of tunnels they've been building all this time, slaughtering the guard and anyone in their path before you can react. Maybe they've
been building those tunnels this whole time. You know, that is impressive that they could just like build things underground though.
From outside the wall, but while you cut down 10 for every one man you lose, you can never kill enough to stop them. All the while the most horrific creatures you could imagine lumber towards the gates, smashing them in and letting the horde in.
What game is this? Is this like, or is this like a total Warhammer trailer?
The town. Survivors are taken into slavery or outright eaten, and in a single night the entire town is gone. When played straight, the Skaven are an endless tide of hungry, hateful creatures using foul science and magic to destroy everything around them, including each other. There is no stopping them truly, because you can never kill them all. Their recklessness means even the most prepared and intelligent of scholars, engineers, or warriors can't hope to match them. Even the strongest of elven sorcerers or the most intelligent of dwarf engineers can't hope to match the 50 Grey Seers or 500 Rattling Gun teams they face off against.
No, not the Dark Elves! Are they gonna get eaten by these rats?
Their very god is just as evil as him, and he is ever hungry for more conquest. But then, we get to the silly Skaven, the way they're portrayed most often outside of circumstances like the Total War trailer or Vermintide games. In this version, they're still trying to do the exact same things before. Secretly build up an invasion force, weaken their target town, all that jazz. Except they can't actually do anything right. Anytime they power up their latest invention, it explodes. The people in charge of the thing either explode with it, or all start blaming each other so their superiors kill the other rat instead of them.
I didn't realize that they can't build things right. That's the new one. You know what? That's another reason for me to hate the Skaven. I'm just gonna like jot that one down. So it seems like the dwarf things that they build, the dwarf machinery is superior to the rat machinery.
They're also probably crushing up and storing the warpstone used to power their tech when they think no one's looking, because nothing pairs with dangerous and unstable technology like crack rocks. Meanwhile, their espionage teams just seem to keep hitting snags in their operation. One team accidentally burrows directly into the guard post during a shift change and is promptly slain. One team somehow gets lost despite starting 5 feet from the town walls and ends up in Mindenheim instead. And the third team didn't even make it out of the base, instead all fighting each other over who should be in charge and killing half their ranks in the process.
Typical Skaven, am I right?
Meanwhile, their leaders have all promptly ignored the Council of 13's orders, which they blame on their fellow commanders, so the council will have them killed instead. This is followed by them having half the army redeployed to go fight one of their rivals instead of this otherwise perfectly conquerable town they're supposed to be capturing. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, Claw has diverted all of your remaining warpstone supplies to his latest project, because he wants to see if he can build a bomb that only blows up elves. Not only does this rob you of your remaining warpstone you need for the assault, but the bomb he builds somehow manages to only hurt members specifically belonging to your clan, and entirely by accident, it blows up directly in your barracks. Why is it in your barracks? Who knows? All of this, mind you, happened in the first 3 days of preparing for the assault on the town. It swiftly ends when Gotcha...
Alright, I think I see what he's saying now. Like, it is kind of hilarious, their antics.
And Felix show up, promptly kill all of them, and 300 miles away, Thanquol laughs to himself about how he has rid himself of rivals that didn't actually know he existed. They speak funny, they betray each other so often that it loops around from despicable to hilarious, and they're an entire race built on the concept of failing upwards. I mean, come on, they mine gold purely because it makes other races angry. They don't use it for anything, they just know that the dwarfs will get pissed if they take their gold, and so they throw thousands of workers to their deaths to rob Thorgrim of a couple gold bars. They're pure evil, and can be terrifying, but just as often, they're just funny. To address them being perfect on the tabletop, you have so many options available to you that in some ways it honestly rivals even the Space Marines over.
I'm not gonna lie, he's actually making me inspired to make a Let's Play video where I am the Skaven.
Oh my god! Okay, it's happening! Everybody stay calm! What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm!
Burn 40k. Sure, you have your classic unending horde of rats you can drown your enemy in. While it may not be an orthodox way to win your game, making your opponent rage quit because your movement phase takes 3 hours is definitely one way to go about things. And hey, as long as the enemy isn't Marathi and just decides to stop taking damage after a certain point, everything will die.
She will just decide to stop taking damage? How can you not love this woman?
Throw enough rats at it. And even with just that strategy, you've got options. Clan rats for the most basic choice, plague monks for a bit more damage, storm vermin for an all-around upgrade. Even if your only plan is to drown the enemy in rats, you can do that in plenty of different ways. But consider also the humble rattling gun. It's a magical machine gun that explodes as often as not, but it'll probably hurt the enemy on the way out. Same with the warfire thrower, but now it's a flamethrower. Perhaps artillery is more your thing. Plague Claw Catapult or a Warp Lightning Cannon, go nuts. Magic? You've got the Grey Seers, of course, or a Vermin Lord if you want to go big. In fact, Vermin Lords are filling 4 different roles because you can build them in 4 different...
What the fuck is this thing? This is my nightmare right here. Like, you can't even, it's like, is this like an undead rat that's like tall and has like this spiky whip? Or is that like its 2 tails? Or like, what is going on?
Ways. 5 if you count the special character Screech Vermin King. And of course, all sorts of medium or heavy monsters to throw onto the field. Hell Pit Abominations, Rat Ogres, Storm Fiends. You have so many different options for building a Skaven army that it's almost absurd. Are they all viable? Probably not, but who cares? You have so many different options that if you only build for viability, you're missing out on both a whole lot of fun and the true Skaven experience of just throwing garbage at the enemy and seeing what sticks. And while they're of course more on the expensive side, you can build them for at least a little bit cheaper than you might think. Take Thanquol. He's $90 for a model that's 430 points on the tabletop. That's not a bad deal at all in terms of points per dollar. Storm Fiends are $75 for a 310 point unit. Vermin Lords can be up to 400 points depending on which one you choose.
Vermin Lords, that's what the fuck this thing is. That is terrifying.
$15. And a lot of the individual models, like the Warp Lightning Catapult, are around 40-ish bucks for roughly 180 points, give or take 10 or 20 in both dollars and points. If you want the endless Vermintide playstyle with large-scale games, then yeah, you better just accept the fact that you're missing at least 1 mortgage payment. But for smaller games and using some of the pricier models, you can actually play Skaven relatively cheaply. Relatively, of course. As always, we're talking Warhammer
It's $1,800? What the fuck?
prices here. But you can always find some secondhand for a bit cheaper, and as an added bonus, them being a horde army means that anyone selling them probably has a lot of minis they want to get rid of. Well, I'm not sure if it's still up, there was a dude selling 71 Plague Monks on eBay for $79. That's barely $1 a mini, and that's the kind of thing you can expect to find buying Skaven secondhand. Of course, switching back over to the narrative side of things, all those fun units on the tabletop have their own factions and lore behind them. You want to build an army of mad scientists? You got 2 different flavors of mad scientist. You can go Frankenstein with Clan Mulder, because sometimes it's fun to play Russian roulette with people's genes. Or maybe you prefer the technological side of being a mad scientist. Clan Scryer will be happy to have you.
Options,
probably to use you as a live test dummy for their latest invention, but hey, you can't make an omelet without cracking a few 100,000 eggs. An endless swarm of rats your thing? Clan Mors or Verminus has you covered quite handily. What if you're a sneakier kind of fella? Well, Clan Eshin is more than happy to teach you the ways of evil
Clan
master
Ash, that kind of reminds me of Slanesh. Is there any relation there?
Splinter. And if you're a frequent goer of anime conventions, Clan Pestilence is the home for you. And you know what makes all of this even more wonderful?
Wait, I don't get it. If you're a frequent goer of anime conventions, you would like this thing? Wait, why?
Pretty much every way they have not changed from their fantasy iteration, at least the more recent one. Well, as with all factions, they've had changes since their very first inception. From fantasy to Age of Sigmar to Total War, they've all been pretty much the same. Clan Pestilence is now the Clan's Pestilence, but they're still the same thing, spreading disease and ruin across reality in the name of the Horned Rat. For that matter, a whole ton of the hero models in AOS are the same as they were in fantasy. Like the Arch Warlock is just Ikit Claw. It's straight up the Ikit Claw model being called something different. Yeah, you can make the argument that it ruins what makes the character special, since it's no longer an individual character, but consider this argument. If you'd like, you can just straight up have the narrative of your AOS game be the Skaven from fantasy. You don't have to pretend that this new model is actually an old fantasy character, because again, this is just straight up Ikit Claw. Just like the Plague Priest is just Lord Skrulk. It's your narrative for the game, pretend it's in any of the settings you want. And while of course plenty of the old models could certainly use an update, in the grand scheme of things I don't think they're that bad. Especially given their lore, Skaven models looking a bit derpy or outdated isn't the worst thing ever. The Skaven are supposed to look horrible. They're supposed to look dingy and gross and generally unpleasant. So a model being a bit outdated isn't as bad for them as it is for, say, the Guard, and the poor Katakan jungle fighters who look like they spent a round too many in the ring with Ivan Drago. This of course has its limits. Please, for the love of God, GW, update the Eshin infantry units. They need help. But
wait, they look cool. They're like some sneaky rogue Skavens.
But overall, the Skaven look both good and consistent across their model lines and the different games alike. And this is all good for both GW and Warhammer fans. For GW, they have a faction that they can sell across multiple different systems, especially if they remove the Skaven from the legacy side of the old world and update them. They can both sell old models because a lot of them aren't that bad looking or in need of an update, all the while pretty much every new model they make for them is going to be met with applause. From a player standpoint, you can use those rats anywhere. Just put them on a square or a circle base depending on how you're feeling. The only faction that surpasses them in this are the demon factions, who you can use even over in 40k. And only a few of the models they have are horribly outdated, so your army's going to look good. You also have all the reason you need to have them fighting any army in the game. Skaven fighting the forces of Order? Of course they are. The Skaven are a monstrously evil and destructive race. Every Order army will fight them. Destruction armies don't need a reason to fight anyone, same as death, so there's another thing they got going for them. And as for mirror matches, the Skaven hate each other almost as much as they hate non-Skaven. You ever look at something like an Imperium versus Imperium match and think, man, these people should really be fighting literally anyone else? Well, with the Skaven, you don't have that problem. You never think that because the Skaven spend more time fighting each other than outside forces.
Yeah, when the Skaven are killing each other, it's just like, just another normal Tuesday.
It's been specifically given as the reason they don't conquer everything. They spend most of their energy fighting each other. The moment they united in the end times, they conquered half the world on their own. So yeah, narratively, there's never an invalid time for the Skaven to be fighting.
Nice,
especially if it's against each other. And to get back to rules,
that kind of is very convenient for a series about constant war, right?
My favorite thing about the Skaven is that in some ways, they're the last bastion of Warhammer having rules that are as geared towards fun as they are towards competitive balance. Sometimes Warhammer having goofy rules was taken too far, especially early in Age of Sigmar's lifespan. Having a rule where your model performs better if you have a bigger mustache than your opponent is just a bit much, funny as it is. Which was a real rule in AOS First Edition. Thank you, Kurt Hellborg.
Wait, that was a rule? Oh wait, I kind of vaguely remember this. I thought that was for like dwarves, like if their beard is big, they're like better or something. But this is hilarious.
The Skaven keep that attitude going without overdoing it. Want to double the damage your Warp Lightning Cannon does? Just overcharge that son of a bitch and let it rip. As long as you don't mind the substantial chance it'll explode and take its crew with it. Same for all their weapons teams. It's not only the best way to marry their lore with their gameplay, but it's also just good fun. You can't be angry when your overcharge fails because A, you did it to yourself, and B, it's just a good time doing it. Laugh like a mad scientist, bet it all on black, and either win the game in one move or send your weapons team straight to hell. Drown the enemy in 500 rats at a time. Who cares if you lose all of them in a single volley from the enemy? You have another 500 right behind them. Maybe I'm wrong or it's just my blatant favoritism showing for them, but the Skaven seem to be one of the few Warhammer armies where fun was prioritized over either balance or making them overpowered to sell sell new models. And you don't often get that nowadays. And for my last big reason to love the Skaven, it's that in all honesty, I think they can comfortably fit in 40k in plenty of different ways. Think about it. Their technology is almost entirely powered by warpstone, solidified chaos essentially. With that in mind, I think it could fit into 40k just fine without too many power scaling issues. If you think warpstone weapons would be too underpowered as they are in fantasy or even AOS, that can easily be explained by chaos being a much bigger influence in 40k, on account of it being galaxy-wide rather than just contained to one planet or 8 realms. Chaos is stronger due to the increased scale and time span, therefore the warpstone is more potent. The numbers aren't an issue, because if you turn around for 5 minutes, the Skaven will have overpopulated a hive world. And as for transportation, the Skaven...
Wait, what the fuck is a hive world? There's so many things I still don't know about Warhammer.
Age of Sigmar tunnel between reality and the warp through null holes that can show up anywhere.
Wait, now they're even more terrifying. So they can just like travel through the warp through these little like holes that are anywhere?
It's like the webway, only worse in every way, because at least within the webway, you'll probably be fine as long as you don't go near a damaged section. Null holes, meanwhile, have a mortality rate that's unknown, but let's be honest, it's a Skaven-made thing. It's at least 50%. But yeah, in terms of capability, they could just straight up be added to 40k with minimal issues in my opinion. And even if you don't agree with that on a factional level, how about this? Take some Skaven, mix them with Imperial Guard bits, and you suddenly have an abhuman army. The Guard already works by drowning the enemy in men like the Skaven do with rats, why not give the mice some futuristic bits? And as long as you swap out the bases, you could probably just use a rattling gun or warpfire thrower as a heavy weapons team. This one may be a bit weird since the Skaven obviously aren't in 40k, but I think they could work just fine. The image of rats swarming across the galaxy is one that brings great joy to my heart, and honestly, for all that it's completely non-canon, it makes me love them even more. And for all those reasons, that's why I think the Skaven are the best faction. That sentence really sounds like I'm capping off a college essay, but I can't think of a better way to end the video. Go buy yourself some Skaven. And on an unrelated but still cool note, Gaijin Goomba, who I have done some collabs with, has made a channel dedicated to orcs. It's good fun and you should go check it out.
Oh, I should
Someone had to be the orc-themed content creator in the 40k space, and he's taken up the honorable role. Not quite as glamorous as the glorious Eldar are, but hey, any Xenos appreciation is always welcome. And they are the other race that won the war in heaven alongside the Eldar, so I think it's good that someone's bringing some more attention to them. Go watch his stuff, it's fun. And as always, thank you to my wonderful channel members. You are the warpstone to my Skaven, fueling my ever-expanding empire of garbage. If you'd like to support the channel, feel free to subscribe or become a member. Either way, thank you for watching and take care out there. You know what the worst thing the Skaven did? Constantly interrupt Nagash's plans. The uneducated among you may say that, but that's a good thing. Nagash is a monster. But the true geniuses among you will understand that the Warhammer fantasy world and the mortal realms all rightfully belong to him. That everyone else denying him this is denying him his rightful due. So yes, in that regards, the Skaven have truly ruined things for everyone, preventing the sweet embrace of death everyone so deserves.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to help me feed the algorithm gods. And let me know of any other videos you want me to react to.